Friends, Father Frank Pavone here, National Director of Priests for Life. Happy Friday. You know, the political activists used to talk about the 72-hour push. When the weekend before Election Day began, they would say, okay, now it's time for the ground game. Now it's time to go out and knock on those doors and make the final rounds of phone calls and get the voters out. Well, in our day and age, it has been a 2-month push. Remember, the earliest of early voting began in the beginning of September with absentee ballots, and it has been a crazy push all through September, all through October. Now we're on the 30th of October already, and brothers and sisters, this weekend, there will be more activity than ever, getting out there, knocking on those doors, making those phone calls, distributing that literature. Many of you are involved in this effort, and now it is essential that we push harder than ever with joy and confidence moving towards Election Day. I thank you for the efforts that you're doing. Now is no time to be thinking about the day after Election Day. Let's focus everything on these days now and get this final push to be victorious. Now, what I want to talk to you today about is the Daily Election Challenge, the action item that we're proposing for today, as we've been doing each day and as we will do right through Tuesday, a simple action that you can carry out that will help us win these elections. And the focus for today is the U.S. Senate races. What I'd like to invite you to do is to reach out to the Republican campaign if your state has a U.S. Senate race. Most of you know whether your state does or not, otherwise it's easy to find out. And support the Republican candidate in that race, because it's essential that we hold on to the Republican majority in the Senate. In fact, it's necessary to expand it. Now, if your state is not, and most states are not, 1/3 of the Senate, so about 33 Senate seats, are up for election each 2 years. The senators have a 6-year term. And so most of the states actually don't have a U.S. Senate race, but that doesn't mean we can't reach out to the campaigns in other states that do and say, hey, how can I help? Because sometimes the campaigns are looking for people to make phone calls, and you can make phone calls from wherever you are. Or maybe the campaigns just need a donation. Hey, listen, you can donate from anywhere in the country. Or maybe the campaigns need something on social media. I mean, it's easier than ever to help out campaigns that are in other states. It's easier than ever to do that nowadays, especially with social media, than it has ever been. Or you may want to make a donation. Now, there are certain U.S. Senate races that are more closely watched, let's say. They're all important. They're all critical. But some are more closely watched than others because they have the capability of either flipping the Senate to Democrat, which would be a disaster, or keeping that Republican or even gaining that Republican seat from a Democrat, such as is the case in Alabama. But I'll mention a few of these states. I'll mention a few of these states in a second. But what I want to do is focus here for a moment on, okay, what's the importance of the U.S. Senate? Well, first of all, of course, legislation. We've got a pro-life president. We've got a president that wants to take even more tax money away from the baby killing industry, Planned Parenthood, and the rest of the abortion businesses, Planned Parenthood being the largest. He has already taken money away from them in as much as he has it within executive power to do so. But a lot of the work, the bulk of the work, has to be done by the Congress. And so he can't just, decree it by himself. He's not a dictator. He has to get the Congress to do their job. He's been calling on Congress to do its job. But unless we have a pro-life Senate and a pro-life House, of course, but unless we keep that pro-life Senate, we'll never be able to get pro-life legislation because the House and the Senate need to agree on a bill that then gets sent to the desk of the president for his signature. So, keeping the Senate in pro-life hands is essential for that reason, number one. Second reason is the judges. We just had the confirmation of Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court. Amazing victory. Historic step forward for our causes. And President Trump's third justice on the court. He has now appointed 1/3 of the Supreme Court judges, of which there are 9. He's put 3 there, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and now Barrett. But the point is this, there's more work to be done. He's put almost 300 judges on the other federal courts. And remember, all these judges, all 300 of them, serve their entire lives. They don't have to be reappointed. They don't have to be elected. They serve their entire lives. So this means good decisions coming down for a generation to come. Now, this is essential to continue this work of putting even more judges on our courts who think like we do about the proper role of the Constitution, the proper role of the courts. Do we want courts that are going to continue to impose abortion, take prayer out of public schools, Bible reading out of public schools, 10 Commandments out of public schools? None of that arose from the heart and will of the American people. That was all imposed on us by the courts. Redefinition of marriage and the family and Lord knows what else. We got to keep the courts moving in the right direction. Under President Trump, the Second Circuit Court of Appeals flipped from a dominance of Democrat-appointed judges to a dominance of Republican-appointed judges. The Third Circuit Court of Appeals, likewise, thanks to the judges he put in place, flipped. So did the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. These are the appeals courts right under the Supreme Court. The 2nd, the 3rd, the 11th. These courts are flipping now to a majority Republican-controlled, and even the notorious crazy Ninth Circuit, very large circuit court out in California, in the West Coast, thanks to President Trump's numerous appointments, has now come to very close to parity, that is, equality of Republican and Democrat appointed judges, so that, and especially when you have a court like that, and this goes for actually all the appellate courts, a case can come before that court. When a case comes before that court, it's not all the judges on the court that listen to the case. They appoint 3-judge panels. Well, if the court is just about equal in the number of Republican and Democrat appointed judges, then you have a pretty good chance when you have a 3-judge panel hearing and deciding on a case that you'll have on that 3-judge panel either a unanimous Republican-appointed judges or 2-to-1, and that'll be in favor of pro-life decisions and pro-family and pro-freedom decisions. So the bottom line here is everything we can do to keep that Senate majority and, in fact, to increase it, we've got to give every possible effort to doing that. Increasing it, because the more of a margin you have of majority, the more strongly conservative judges President Trump can nominate, because he won't have to worry about some of these flaky, pun intended, flaky senators peeling off and maybe not supporting a particular judge because they are afraid that they're a little bit too right-wing, too pro-life, too conservative. Okay. The other reason we need to increase the majority of pro-life senators, Republican senators, is that when it comes to legislation, the Senate has the filibuster. So even the minority party, or even an individual senator, can slow things down or block things with legislation that he or she doesn't like. And it takes 60 votes to overcome the filibuster. It takes 60 votes to overcome that delay tactic and to get the legislation voted on. This is why some people say, oh, we had the majority, how come we didn't get the law passed? Well, because it's more than a majority is needed. You need a supermajority. You need 60. Can it be done in this election? It's a steep hill to climb, but yeah, it can be done. Some of the states most closely watched for these U.S. Senate races this time, and you may want to reach out to your friends in those states, and I know we have people watching from these states. Alabama is a key one. Montana, Senator Daines there. Steve Daines is head of the pro-life caucus in the United States Senate. It's an important initiative that he has started. So Montana, Iowa, Michigan, Minnesota, also important and closely watched, Colorado, North Carolina, Maine, and the state of Georgia. Those of you from Georgia, you've got the interesting scenario here, usually it doesn't happen, of 2 United States Senate races. Both of your U.S. senators are up for election this time around. So friends, if you know people in those states, you may be in other states that have Senate races as well. Let's go. Let's get in contact with them today. Call the campaigns. What I'm saying is contact the campaigns of the Republican senators in these U.S. Senate races and just say, what can I do to help? Doesn't matter if you're not in that state. What can I do to help? Can I donate? Can I make calls? Can I do things on social media, spread information? What can I do to help? So thanks, friends. Again, dailyelectionchallenge.com is where we're putting up these suggested action items each day. Please check them out, not only for today, but for the previous days and for the days to come. Samuel is asking a good question. Thank you, Samuel. I thought the nuclear option destroyed that 60-vote threshold. You're right, it did for judges. Remember, the Senate votes on the confirmation of judges, and because that, as you say, it's called the nuclear option, when you take away that 60-vote threshold and reduce it back to 51, that's called the nuclear option. That was done for the judges. In fact, it was done twice. The Democrats took away, back in 2013, the 60-vote threshold for the Senate voting on federal judges, with the exception of the Supreme Court. So the district and appellate courts, they took away the 60-vote threshold. In 2017, for President Trump's first Supreme Court nominee, Gorsuch, the Republicans in the Senate took away the 60-vote threshold for the confirmation of Supreme Court justices. That's how we got Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Barrett confirmed. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been confirmed, most likely, because of the Democrat opposition, unless we had taken away that 60-vote threshold. So you're absolutely right about that. But the legislative filibuster is still in place. That threshold is still 60 votes for passing a bill into law. That's still at 60 votes. Now, here's the danger of the Senate going over to the Democrats. We cannot let that happen, because the danger is, if the Senate is in the control of the Democrats, they'll go ahead and get rid of the legislative filibuster, which means that they can pass all sorts of crazy pro-abortion legislation and other kinds of crazy legislation just having Democrat votes. And the Republican minority, if it were a minority in the Senate, wouldn't be able to stop those bills from going forward. And remember, they've got bills in mind that would take away every restriction on abortion, including parental involvement laws, sensible clinic regulation laws, any of these kinds of regulations they see as obstacles to, quote unquote, women's reproductive rights, which is ridiculous. So thank you for that question, Samuel. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you all for watching. We're going to get ready for Mass here, which we'll be showing in about 15 minutes. And just God bless you all. I know you all are working hard. We're certainly working like crazy over here. Let's keep in touch. We will keep in touch throughout the day. By the way, we're going to have Sister Dee Dee on with us. You know, the sister who said the prayer at the convention. She's going to be on at 11 a.m. this morning, live with me and Janet Morana. It's going to be a fun day. Janet's going to be on again live at 3:30. I'm going to be on tonight at 9. We have 2 rallies from President Trump, 3 rallies from President Trump today that we're going to show you from Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. What a day it's going to be. What a day it's going to be. Let's get ready for action. Let's roll, and let's win. God bless you, friends. Father Frank here from Priests for Life. We'll talk to you later.
I think we have Richard Lee, we have Jim Garlow, and we have Father Frank Pavone. Someplace they were in the audience, so I appreciate you. I appreciate you being.
Follow him, Father Frank Pavone, Fr. Frank Pavone, on Twitter. He is the National Director of Priests for Life. Please go to priestsforlife.org.